how you doing? I'm having a damn good day. Welcome back to the damn channel. And today we'll be talking about Luton Town and their set of tactics under Rob Edwards and what they will be expected to do this season in the Premier League. How you can more or less look to replicate their first few games in the Premier League this season. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not pretty. These tactics, they're literally get men behind the ball, defend, force the opponents to take shots from outside the box, and then look to spring counter-attacks and hopefully work the ball down the flanks and get the ball into the strikers to try and score many goals, which they have not been able to do so far. But before we get into the tactics and everything, we'll go through the team. Of course, we've got the captain, Morris. I think it is somebody else, but their last game, Morris was the standing captain, so I just went with him as well. We've got Adebayo, we've got Tahith Chong, Nakamba, and Ross Barkley. We've got Giles, Lockyer, Bell. Actually, Bell's supposed to be there, sorry. Bell, Lockyer, Burke, and Kabore. And then we've got Kaminsky in the goal. Then we've got Brown, Clark, Mpanzu, who made it all the way from non-league to Premier League. You guys have heard the story. I'm not going to go over it. We've got Sambi Lakonga, we've got Krul, we've got Doherty, and then we've got Mengi from Manchester United. Now, we do have a few other players in the reserves. We've got Freeman, Lansbury, Shea, of course. So just having a look at the formation, it's a 5-2-1-2 formation. One goalkeeper, 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, 2 central midfielders, 1 cam, and then, of course, 2 strikers. Now, from what I've seen from the tactics of Luton Town, they've very much implemented drop-back system. They're not prepared to, have a team press trying to win the ball back nice and high. I know against Chelsea in that first 5 or 10 minutes or so, they were quite happy to try and press, and you can do that by using the D-pad and left, I think. My sense of direction is off, but you can also look to implement a team press on a manual basis in the game. But more times than not, they would look to just more or less keep their shape, drop back, make sure that they were very hard to break down, and that's what you can do with the defensive style set to drop back in FIFA 23. As for the width, it is set to 30. Like I say, it's a very nice compact system. You are playing a back 5 at times. Your central midfielders, they'll also look to somewhat drop back, be nice and condensed, making it very hard to play through the middle, but also looking to funnel the ball out to the wider areas and then have the opponents whip the balls into the box, where of course you do have the numerical advantage over your opponents. As for the depth, it's set to a nice balanced 50. They do look to somewhat play a mid block at times, getting the defense up the field, trying to support the attacking outlet as much as possible, but they don't always look to do that. So that's why I've set it to 50. And then for the offense, the builder player is set to have a balanced approach. You can have those long balls being driven in. You can have that fast-paced approach. They don't really look to play and slow down the tempo. They look to try and catch the opponents out. So if you do go on and set it to a fast-paced build-up, that's okay. That's fine. It's very realistic. But I like having the long ball attributes as well, so you can have a nice long ball hit from one of your centre-backs, or maybe Nakamba or Ross Barkley gets on the ball, and they can spring those long balls into your forward line. So that's why I've gone with a balanced approach for the build-up play. As for chance creation, it's set to forward runs. You want your forwards to try and exploit that space that's left in behind between the defense and the goalkeeper, and you want them running in behind there, as well as your wing-backs. You want them to try and break that gap between the defense and the goalkeeper, running into that space and behind as well. So as for the width, it's set to 60, which is not the worst. I mean, it can be a lot wider, but basically it's for the fact that if you do lose the ball, which you will look to probably not have the ball most moments in the game. So when you do lose the ball, it's a lot easier for you to get into your shape, get into your system and your structure, and make it very hard for your opponents to try and pass through you and play those blind breaking passes between your midfield and your defense and so on. So that's why I've set it to 60. You can even drop it slightly more, but in terms of the wing backs getting forward and being in that wider space, you do want them to have an effect on the game in certain moments. So you do want them, like I say, running along the touch lines or the side lines or the bylines. You want them running along those side areas up and down the field more times than not. And then as for players in the box, I've set it to 4, which is looking to not overcomplicate things. It's literally just your 2 strikers, and then you'll have 3 players in and around that area, or 4 players I should say. More times than not, it will be your 3 midfielders. In this case, it's Chong, Barkley, and Nakamba, and then of course it would be Kabore or either Giles on the left hand side, whoever's whipping in that ball for your attacking players. And then for the corners and free kicks, as per always, it is set to 4. Now I did note that Luton will look to try and create as many good opportunities from set piece situations, so you do want to try and capitalize on that with Luton Town. So as for the goalkeeper instructions, I have set Kaminsky to come for crosses and have a balanced approach when it comes to saving outside the box. You are playing a somewhat mid-block to low block at times, so you don't really need him running off of his line. You have 3 defenders in front of him that are quite happy to more or less sweep up and make sure that he is under no danger whatsoever. And you will be looking to funnel your opponent out wide, have those crosses being fired, and you do need him to be a bit more confident. You need him to claim that ball in the air and alleviate the stress and the pressure on that back line. Now, speaking of that back line, we've got Lockyer, Bell, and Burke. They are all set to their same set of instructions, their base set of instructions for them. As for Kabora and Giles, also set to the same set of instructions. They will look to add width to this team. They will look to be the outlets on those wider flanks. So join the attack and overlap, and then of course stick to position for both of them. Like I said, they will be looking to whip those crosses and supply that forward line and get in behind the defense more times than not. As for Barkley, now what I've seen Barkley as is he's the chief creator of this team. He's going to make sure that he's ticking the play over, making sure that players are making the right runs. He's going to try and hit those players making those runs, especially with what I saw against the likes of West Ham as well as the likes of Chelsea. He was very much the chief creator in the team. So as for his instructions, he's set to have a balanced attack, so he will look to get forward, but he is also one of the defensive midfielders in a way. I know they're two central midfielders, but they will look to sometimes drop slightly deeper. So he will be looking to get forward more times than not, but he will also have the option to come back, help out the likes of Nakamba, build up play from the back, and progress it forward. He is also set to stay on the edge of the box, so he won't be looking to get in that area. Like I said before, there's only two players that will look to get into this attacking area, and that's your two strikers. In this case, it's Morris and Adebayo. So you want him in and around that box to collect the loose balls, potentially whip them back in, or even supply them to your fullbacks to then whip those dangerous crosses into the box for your two strikers. And then normal interceptions are set to be on and then drift wide. You will see for Chong, he's got similar instructions. You do want more or less them to create like a midfield three, a very flat three at times, with Chong on the one side, Barkley on the other, and Nakamba in the middle. And speaking of Nakamba, he's set to stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box. Normal interceptions are set to be on, and then cover the center and stick to position. So, like I say, you want him in that central area, trying to shield the backline as much as possible, as well as try and protect the likes of Barkley and Chong from being heavily exposed when going forward. And then finally in the midfield, we've got Chong, who has been fairly underwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Former Manchester United product, I was like, you know what, this could be his chance. He could come through, break some crazy things, and he has not torn up any trees or anything like that. So he is set to come back on defense. So you want to try and replicate the Barkley role, but slightly higher up. So he will look to come back, help the likes of Barkley and Nakamba, link up the play quite nicely, progress the ball forward, get on the ball quite deep, and then, drive it on forward. As for support on crosses, it is set to balance. So sometimes he will look to try and get into the box, but it's like I said, it's not always because your players in the box is set to fall. He is set to drift wide. So because Barkley is on the left-hand side, he will look to naturally just drift slightly left and try and help the likes of Giles, while Chong will look to drift naturally slightly right and look to try and help Kabora in certain moments. And then interceptions are set to normal. Now, as for our two strikers, similar roles, but not exactly the same. We'll start off with Morris. He is set to have a balance width, so he will look to make those angled runs inside and out of the box. He won't always look to take up that central area because you do have Adebayo in this case. And he will look to try and press the back line in certain moments and try and keep them honest, making those runs in behind, standing on the shoulder of them and running off of them when that long ball is eventually played in by either your centre backs or even the likes of Ross Barkley or Nakamba. Like I say, you do want to try and keep the defense honest, and to be fair, this setting does do that quite well. As for the defensive support, I've set it to a basic defensive support because he does look to slightly drop deeper, get on the ball, help link play between the strikers and the midfield, and that is more or less what his job will be going forward. So as for Adebayo, he is set to have a balance width, so he will also look to try and make those arcing angled runs, but he will look to mainly be the central focus point in this team because he is the target man. So he will look to take up that space, wait for those balls to be whipped into the box, whether it's from Giles, Barkley, Kabora, whoever you're looking to try and cross the ball into with him. He will look to try and win that aerial duel with the defense. And then as for interceptions, it's set to normal. And then finally, defensive support is set to stay forward, so he will be the outlet ball. He'll look to try and back into the opposition, link up play with either the fullbacks or the midfield at times, or even the striker, and just hold off the defensive pressure that can come your way at times. So he will be your outlet ball essentially. And there you have it, my Luton Town tactics, the best and the most realistic set of tactics on YouTube for Luton Town in FIFA 23. So if you can, hit the like button please, it would mean the absolute world to me. Subscribe if you are new, obviously, that would be great too. But most importantly, my dudes, I hope you have a damn great day. I'm out.